Alright, tonight we are going to look at some vocab we need for section 3.2. So first we're going to start out with the dependent variable. And this is the variable that relies on the other variable. Variable that relies on the other variable. So it only happens because your independent variable is happening. So some examples might be distance, money, and it is all of your y values. Alright, so our independent variable is the variable that doesn't rely or depend on the other variable. Does not rely on the other variable. This happens no matter what. Or I like to think about it as this is the one that comes first. Comes first. So some examples of that might be time, and it's all of your x values. Okay, so domain. Domain is all your possible input or x values. And range is all your possible outputs or y values. So domain goes with our independent variable, range goes with our dependent variables. Let's look at two quick review examples on domain and range. So domain's all of our x values, so I like to think of it as going from left to right. So I'm going to highlight my first point and my last point. Now for my domain, I have my first x goes through 0, so 0 less than or equal to x, less than or equal to my last x is 7. And we could also write that as 0, 7. Now my range, I want to highlight my lowest point on the graph, my lowest point there, and my highest point on the graph. My range goes through, look over here, -2, less than or equal to y, less than or equal to, and my highest point is 4. Or I can write that as -2, 4. Now this one's a little bit different because we have arrows at the end. So these arrows right here are going to affect something. So as my graph is getting larger and larger and larger, I'm going to be able to have any x value. So for my domain here, we're going to say all real numbers because there are no restrictions. And we can also write that as an R with a line down it. Now for my range, I do have some restrictions. So it starts here, and then I have arrows on the end, so that says it goes on forever. So my range is going to be started at -1, less than or equal to y, less than or equal to, and then since it doesn't end, I'm going to write infinity. Or we can write that as -1 to infinity. Notice I have parentheses around the infinity. Whenever we do positive or negative infinity, we have parentheses, not the brackets. Alright, let's look at our first example. Six Flags charges an unknown amount to get in and $3 per game. One day, Liam spent $106 on 12 games. So we need to figure out what is the value of m. And remember, m is our slope. What is the value of x? What is the value of y? So that's looking at it as if it's a point, x comma y. What is our equation? And we're going to write that in slope-intercept form. and then interpret your y-intercept, and that means use some words. Alright, so we don't know how much to get in, and we know $3 per game. Per tells me right there that that's going to be my slope. So my value of M is 3. One day Liam spent $106 on 12 games. So one way that you can also look at this per here is that we can think of it as y per x. So that means that my y value is depending on my x value. So my x value represents the number of games. So the value of x here is going to be 12. My y value is my total cost. And on those 12 games, he spent $106. Now, if I plug into my equation, I have 106 equals 3 times 12 plus b. That's my unknown amount that I don't know how much I spent to get in, so I have to solve for b. 3 times 12 is 36 plus b. Subtract 36, and I get that 70 equals b. Now I need to make sure that I write my equation, y equals 3x plus 70. So to interpret my y-intercept, I have it cost Liam $70 to get into Six Flags. Alright, next one. Oh, did it not go on there? Okay. Alright, next one. You try. Alejandro gets $75 for being on call, plus $15 per hour. So write an equation for Alejandro's pay for X number of hours. Now this one, they tell us the y-intercept, and they give us our slope. So this is our B, this is our M. So give the equation a try, and we should get y equals 15x plus 75. How much money will Alejandro make if he works 40 hours? We know x equals number of hours, so 40 hours is going to go into x. So you should get $675. And the last one, how many hours does Alejandro work if he made $231? And it doesn't tell us what y is, but since we're looking at dollars per hour, we know that y is going to be our total cost. And you should get there 10.4 hours.